part 2. This is part 2 of chat number 194, create a plant-powered menu. I'm Kelly with IfYouHaveAnEgg.com. Today is Sunday, October the 11th. And if you were with us for the first half, thanks for staying. If you are just joining us for the second half, which by the way, Casey divides them up when she puts them on YouTube. So if you need to watch the whole thing, if you missed the whole thing and you want to watch it, you can watch the whole thing. If you just want to go back and listen to the second half, you certainly can. So when she posts those on Mondays, she divides them up. Jessica has been posting these, the written version of these, on Monday afternoon, Tuesdays. We have to wait until after Casey gets them on YouTube, but you can go back and read all this. And if we have any recipes, she's been posting them there on IfYouHaveAnEgg.com. So the second half, we're talking about plant-based food power. So plants have much power. They have lots and lots of power. If you missed the true tale of Daniel and his band of merry veggie men in the first half, you'll have to go back and watch it or read it if you're doing this tomorrow, from the first half of tonight's chat. For the rest of you though, let's talk veggie time. So remember, those guys looked better after their 10 days of vegetables and water only. So whether you're trying to make this one plant-based meal, or you're trying to fit some plants into your diet, or you've decided to jump onto the plant-based produce wagon, stay tuned. We're going to talk about this. My mom did a ton of research before she decided to become vegan, and she became vegan for health reasons. She did a ton of research, but we spent years of spending every single Saturday night together finding out what we really didn't know. So even though she did all this research, vegan was the diet that she decided to come up with for those health reasons. But even after all the research that she did, seriously, we spent years of Saturday nights together finding out what we did not know. And we needed to keep learning more. So that's what I'm going to talk to you all about in this second half. The first thing people think: plant-based, vegan, vegetarian, what's going on? Why are there different names? There's flexitarian, pescatarian, ovo-lacto. There's all these different names, but what is plant-based? Because that's like the new buzzword right now. So what is a plant, and what makes something plant-based? That might seem like a stupid question, but plants are not just vegetables. So many times when people hear somebody say vegetarian or vegan or plant-based, and they think, oh great, you only eat vegetables and tofu. And I don't know why tofu always gets lumped in with that, but it is absolutely not true. While it is true that veggies are plants, the inclusion of fruits, nuts, beans, legumes, anything else that started life as a whole food that grew from the ground, usually from the ground. They don't always have to grow from the ground, but most plants start in the ground. They can be grown in some other mediums, but for the most part, it's going to be a whole food that was grown from the ground. While that's mostly whole plants, so mostly things that started as a whole. It started as a whole food that grew from the ground. While plants may be added as an ingredient in another food, plant-based usually refers to things that are not altered too much or manipulated in such a way as to devalue the original plant. So I think that might be like don't quote me on this, but I think that might be like where that whole whatever diet came from, because you're eating things that haven't been, and I hate to use the word defiled, but defiled or devalued, like Daniel said, I don't want to defile my body, by eating the other things, because it's just been altered too much. So plant-based, tends to lean more towards that. And while if you can readily identify the plant, what it was or what it still is, then it has even more power. So the further it's processed or the further it's broken down, the less that you can identify what it is, it starts to lose some of its power. It doesn't mean that it's bad, and what we're going to have at the very end has been pureed. But just the more whole that it is in a plant-based diet, the better. So then people say, yeah, but if I go plant-based, does that mean that I'm vegan? Absolutely not. So many vegans eat things that are not whole plants. So things like Oreos and French fries. Oreos and French fries are both vegan. They both can be, and they both can be vegan because French fries are potatoes and they are deep fried in some form of vegetable oil. So they're vegan, by definition, they are vegan. But plant-based eating focuses more on the whole or minimally processed plant. So if you're going plant-based, Oreos and French fries are probably not going to be on the menu if you're going all the way plant-based. Someone focusing on plant-based eating may choose to do that for a meal, or they may choose to do that for a whole day, or they may choose to do it for a lifetime. And it can be for a myriad of reasons, but it's usually health reasons, or trying to feel better, trying to look a little better, trying to lose a little weight. A lot of people go plant-based for health reasons. And somebody that's focusing on that, for the day, for the meal, for the lifetime, whatever, they might still include minimal amounts of dairy or meat. So I think it was Carol Lou that asked if we, when she did her homework, if it could include any dairy. Yeah, it can. So people that are plant-based, they focus on plants, but they can still and may still include some dairy or meat. Vegan living means nothing that came from an animal. So no milk, no vegan, like actual vegan, strict vegan means no milk, no dairy, which is milk, no eggs, no honey, because honey is not a plant. Honey came from an animal. So that is none of that stuff. So you're not getting anything that came from an animal, even if the animal just worked to make it, and it's not, you're not consuming the animal. Does that make sense? So like milking a cow, you still wouldn't do that. The bee gathering honey, or gathering pollen to make honey, still wouldn't do that. So that's vegan. So vegan's a much more, rigid. It's usually more about the animals than it is the diet. Plant-based wasn't a thing with my mom. She still wouldn't have eaten any of it. She didn't eat honey. She still didn't. She had a strict vegan diet. And hold on just a second. And while choosing a vegan lifestyle may benefit your health, a plant-based diet is all about gaining power and becoming healthier. So, okay, a plant-based diet. This is a true and false. So a lot of people think a plant-based diet is automatically going to be lower in WW My Way Smart Points. Hold up there just a minute, veg heads. It's not necessarily true. So my mom and I figured out real quick that you can still pack in a lot of calories, some good fats, but sometimes some weight with a plant-based diet. So remember Daniel's diet? He looked better, and he definitely did not lose weight on that diet. So you gotta kind of do your research, ask some questions. Oh, no, I think that's a clock. Oh, I'm sorry. Michelle said, is Dusty pecking in the background? No, I think it's just so quiet in here because the air is turned off that's a clock. Or no, it may be me. That may be actually me on the countertop. Sorry, I'll stop doing that. Okay, anyway. So remember, Daniel definitely did not lose any weight. So being on a plant-based diet, you still got to kind of keep it in track. I would still track your food because not all of them are 0 points. But Daniel definitely looked better when they got done. Some plant-based foods are considered high abuse foods. So and so they have a higher point value. So things like nuts and avocado are extremely good for you. But it's difficult to stop eating them once you get started. But there are hundreds of plant-based foods that are no or low points on all 3 of the plans, on all 3 of them. Speaking of avocado, I wanted to sneak in and show you all this real quick because we'll be focusing on plants a lot this week. Look what we just got in at Casey Kitchen Center, and I wish that I had time. I bought some limes specifically for this, but I wish that I had time. I wish that I had time to dig into these today. But as we are getting more into our plant-based things this week, and Loretta, we're going to talk about protein in a second. We are not done talking, but oh my goodness, look at these. We got food huggers in at Casey Kitchen Center, and these are actually on IfYouHaveAnEgg.com. You can go to IfYouHaveAnEgg.com and go to shop, and Kelly's recommendations, I think is what it says. But like this one, you can use for an onion, the other half of an apple. You can use it for the top. They have 3 different sizes, and they hug the food. And I'm sorry, I don't have time to break them out and show them to you tonight. But oh my goodness. And like this one's for a lemon or a lime. You could use it for an onion, for something small. So I bought some limes just so I could try this. I know we're talking about plant-based things, but that one is a butter hugger. These are food huggers. And this one's for the avocado. Oh my goodness, it's just so cute. This one, when I have time to get an avocado, we will be trying because it is supposed to help keep it fresh, help keep the avocado fresh. Because avocados are a high abuse food and people tend to eat more of them. And then this one's just a different color of the 5-piece multicolor. Anyway, so we'll be talking about those a lot more, but I wanted to show you those real quick while I was thinking about it because those are super cute and we just got those in and it actually irritates me that we have not had time to play with them yet. But, okay, so, plants can't provide enough protein or other vitamins and nutrients. Okay, who just said, what about protein? So that was a huge concern for my mom. It absolutely was not an issue until her final illness. And that was just because she wasn't eating. That had nothing to do with the fact that she was vegan. But there at the end, she just wasn't eating. So she couldn't get enough of anything. It didn't matter whether she was vegan or not. She just was not getting enough food. Protein was a major concern for me. I asked her all the time, Mom, are you getting enough protein? Enough protein, enough protein, enough protein, enough protein. I mean, I was like, that drove me crazy in the beginning because I was so concerned about that. I mean, this lady was, 5 feet tall maybe, and just teeny, tiny. And I was just worried that she wasn't getting enough protein. So that was my major concern. I'm including a chart. Jessica is going to include this chart in the written notes when she does them. So when she does the written chat, this chart will be in there. But this is a chart from Women's Day magazine to help you determine how much protein that you should get in a day. So for an average woman, you would take your weight times 0.36, and that equals the number of grams of protein. So let's just as an example, let me just do some quick math here. So let's say if you weighed 150 pounds times 0.36, that would be 54. So you would need 54 grams of protein a day. If you want to lose weight, and I thought this was interesting, if you want to lose weight, you take your weight times 0.7 grams of protein a day. So even if you're still eating meat, if you want to lose weight, you need to up your protein to lose weight. That's interesting. And then if you were just trying to gain muscle, it is your weight times 0.8 grams of protein a day. Okay, so 54 grams of protein a day. So let's say you weigh 150 pounds and you need 54 grams of protein a day. That was a big concern for me. So here are some, this is not all, but here are some of the best protein-based places, some of the best places in plants to get protein. Edamame, which I know you all have all seen it. Edamame comes like a bean, but it has the little green, really, really bright beans pod, inside the pod. Edamame, 18 grams of protein per cup. So for one little cup of edamame, it's 18 grams of protein. Tempeh, which is a form, it's sort of like tofu, but tempeh, that's a whole nother discussion that we would have to get into. Will take too long. We'll talk about it another day. But tempeh for 16 grams of protein for 3 ounces, which is about the size of a deck of cards or the palm of your hand. Tofu is 8, depending on the tofu, it's 8 to 15 grams of protein per 3 ounces. So again, that's the size of a deck of cards or the palm of your hand. Lentils, 9 grams per half of a cup. So this is a half of a cup, 9 grams of protein per half a cup. Black beans, 7.6 grams per half of a cup. Lima beans, 7.3 grams per half of a cup. Peanuts, 7 grams per fourth of a cup. And we're going to talk about peanut powder here in just a second. So peanuts is 7 grams per fourth of a cup, or 7 grams for 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. It's a lot of points though, but we're going to talk about an alternative here in just a second. Wild rice, if you're still eating rice, if you're still enjoying that, 6.5 grams of protein per cup. Chickpeas are 6 grams per half of a cup. Almonds, 6 grams per fourth of a cup. That's not very much, but if you wanted, to grab a quick 6 grams of protein, a quarter of a cup of almonds would do it. Chia seeds, 6 grams per 2 tablespoons. So what we've been putting in the overnight oats is a teaspoon. It's a teaspoon, but chia seeds do have points. 1 teaspoon of chia seeds is 1 point. So a tablespoon would be 3 points. But you know, that still would be a little bit of protein if you were doing the overnight oats, you know, in that. So that's chia seeds is 6 grams per 2 tablespoons. Let me breathe for a second because I'm talking too fast. Spinach, 3 grams of protein per half of a cup cooked. Avocado, remember we just talked about avocado that you could put in the cute little resealable food hugger. But avocado, 2 grams of protein per half an item. So you could get 1 gram of protein, put the other gram of protein in this little food hugger and put it in the refrigerator and save it to the next day. Now, I said we would talk about a couple other things. Whole wheat pasta. So if you're doing, especially if you're doing purple, whole wheat pasta, you know, a lot of us are including this. 1 cup dry of this particular whole wheat pasta has 7 grams of protein. There are some, like Maria has a not whole wheat pasta that has protein added to it, but this one is just a regular old whole wheat rotini pasta. And 1 cup dry of this is 7 grams of protein. So that would be another great way to get it. Nutritional yeast, y'all know I talk about this all the time. So nutritional yeast, 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast is 0 smart points, but it has 5 grams of protein. So, so if you just add 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast to anything else that you're eating, that's automatically 5 grams of protein. So that's almost, if you weighed 150 pounds, that's almost 1/10 of the protein that you need for the whole day in 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast. If you don't want to use a lot of points for peanut butter or for peanuts, you can use peanut powder, or this is almond powder, because we are going to, oh, and Mindy says chia seeds, 3 smart points for 2 tablespoons. That's not bad. 3 for 2 whole tablespoons. That's actually pretty good. But peanut powder, or this is this is unsweetened almond powder. So for this, it is 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of this, I think, was 2 points. I think it was 1 point per tablespoon. Let me look real quick because I forgot to write that down. That is 1. I'm sorry, it's 1 point for 2 tablespoons, but for 2 tablespoons, there are 6 grams of protein. So you could either do 1 point of the powdered for 6 grams of protein, or you could do 1/4 of a cup of peanuts, or 2 tablespoons of peanut butter for a whole lot more. For 7 grams of protein. Okay, so we're going to make something with this here in just a few minutes. Okay, there are 7 vitamins and nutrients that are not found in plants. So these are my only source of concern, you know, or things that you need to keep up with. B12 can only be acquired through a supplement or through foods that are fortified with it. The nutritional yeast that I talk about all the time does have B12 in it. It actually has 563% of your daily requirement of B12. So that is a great place to get that from. Let's see. Creatine is only found in animal sources, but it can be found in supplements. Carnosine is important, but it's considered not essential because your body can produce it. Vitamin D is critically important. It is critically important for your brain function and your mental health, but it's mainly found, it's only found like in milk and milk products, or sunlight, or in foods that are fortified with it. So you would need to look for something with a vitamin D supplement. And you know what? I don't know if this has vitamin D in it or not. Oh, no, it's not even enough to register, but oh well, it has lots of other good for you things in it. So if you're in an area that you're not going to get a lot of sunlight to get to make your own vitamin D, you're going to need to find something with a supplement if you're going to do this like full time. DHA is important for your brain function and mental health, but it's mainly found in fatty fish and fish oil unless you can take a supplement. Heme iron. So there's a difference between heme iron and non-heme iron, and I don't know what that difference is, but I have a heme iron deficiency, so I am slightly anemic, and my mom was too. So I have to be super careful since I don't eat a lot of meat. I have to be super careful and make sure that I get things that have enough heme iron in them. So I do take a supplement every day, and the supplement works for me. I don't have any problems with it. There's no reason, for me to switch from that. But I also get, every day I have at least 1 tablespoon of this in something, and that's a little bit of my, my iron. So you can get that in, you can get that in other ways. Let's see. And then taurine is considered non-essential, but it can be found in, some supplements. So people that are vegan or completely plant-based will be lower in some of these things, than other people. Okay. And then, with the exception of extreme situations where the food choices are narrow or where supplements are not available, a plant-based diet or even the occasional meal or two, it can power your weight loss and your health. So don't get so, unless you're going to be extremely narrow-minded in this, in what you eat, and just, if you're going to make it into a plant-based diet, but you've just got a really, really small, group of things that you're eating, or if you just stop eating, then other than that, you should be able to eat a big enough selection to get in everything that you need. So we have just enough time to do the recipe that was in this last week's weekly. So the recipe that was in last week's weekly is pumpkin pie butter. And remember, I keep saying minimally processed. So we are going to be using pureed pumpkin for this. That's pretty minimally processed. I mean, it's literally just pureed. It hasn't had a lot of, anything else done to it. It doesn't have anything added to it. It's literally just pureed pumpkin. So I can tell what this used to be. So remember, that's part of knowing if something is a plant-based, that you can recognize what it still is or what it was. So pureed pumpkin, you can still tell that it was pumpkin. So this recipe, again, you can find it in last week's, on last week's weekly. So what this is going to have in it is 1 can, it's a 15-ounce can of just pureed pumpkin. That is not pumpkin pie pumpkin, is just pureed pumpkin. And then to that, we're going to add a half of a cup of the unsweetened unsweetened powdered almond butter. And there's nothing quite like trying to measure this out live in front of you all. So, because I usually have all this stuff pre-measured, but I did not tonight. Okay, so we've got a half a cup of that. And this is, by the way, this is 1 point on blue, green, and purple. So that was a half a cup of the powdered almond butter. It is 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and I'm going to use sugar-free. I like the Carrie sugar-free maple syrup, so I'm going to use that. Dusty, you are fine. There is nothing up here that smells like meat, buddy. Pretty sure you don't eat pumpkin. I don't know, actually, he does eat pumpkin. Maybe he's wanting that. But that's 2 tablespoons of the Carrie, I'm using Carrie sugar-free maple syrup. You can use whatever kind of maple syrup you want to. Then I need 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. You're okay. So I'm using the Dax pumpkin spice. So I need 2 teaspoons of that, and that's just my Dax pumpkin spice. And then I need a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And remember, this is in your weekly. So you can go back and print that out when the weeklies are working again. And then we need 3/4 of a teaspoon of any kind of apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to use Bragg's apple cider vinegar. Sorry, my nose itches. So I'm not going to measure that exactly. We're going to get about 3/4 of a teaspoon of that, and it also suggests a pinch of salt, but since I've not been putting salt in anything, I'm not doing it. Okay, and then they would prefer that you used a whisk. I apparently did not have a whisk here at work, so I'm just going to quickly do this with a fork, and I can tell you it already smells fabulous. And I have purchased some whole wheat light English muffins to put this on for breakfast at work. So I'm still trying really hard to do breakfast at work and lunch, so that when we do go back over to John's mom's in the afternoon, or if she's with me in the afternoon at work, that I don't go crazy. Okay, and this makes it, the serving size is approximately 2.5 tablespoons, which is plenty to put on the 2 halves of the English muffins. And it is 1 point, again, it is 1 point blue, 1 point green, and 1 point purple. You do not have to cook this. You do need to put it in the refrigerator, however, after you get done with it. Oh, this smells so good. So after we get part of this in one of these little jars that I am going to leave here at work and not give to Dusty, who is begging for it. And let's see, Bernice says, what kind of almond powder? So the brand that I found at Kroger today says it's called Barney Butter, but it doesn't really matter what brand it is. That's just what brand that I had it. Oh, yeah. Orlando Debbie says that would be good mixed into non-fat plain Greek yogurt. Oh, yeah, we will be trying that this week. That sounds so good. Okay, I have just a couple more minutes of your time before I have to go back to the real world. So let me get a little more of this packed in here. Looks like it would probably fill up 2 of these jars. So, you know, you could even make these for people and give them, you know, give it for presents. But how cute is this? Sorry for the hideously loud noise. But how cute is this going to be? Going into the refrigerator at work to have my pumpkin pie butter. Let me get a little taste of it. And thank you, WW, for this idea on this wonderful recipe. And Orlando Debbie, I will definitely be trying it in some yogurt. Dusty has a reason to cry. That's delicious. Okay, so there you have it. Pumpkin pie butter. Thank you, WW. I will be enjoying that this week. You all have an amazing week. Do not forget to do your homework. It was hashtag something or the other. Hashtag plant-based protein. But y'all have a great week. I've enjoyed being with you again. Please do keep my husband and his parents in your prayers. Oh, and yes, Sandra, that would be good in overnight oats. They have another long, hard week ahead of them. And some big decisions to make. So y'all have a great week. I have loved being here with you again, and I will see you next time. Have a great week. Oh, if you're watching this on YouTube, do not forget to go ahead and watch the next video that's going to come up. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and click down here on the subscribe button, and remember to click that little bell so that it will notify you as we have new videos come up. And over here, if you want one of these cool aprons, or if you want one of our shirts that we've made, here's a link to the spreadshirt. But again, y'all have a great week, and I will see you next time. Good night.